Okay, so hopefully everything's working. I can hi to some random geek for sure. I'm not sure who else is watching at this point, but um, thanks for joining me for my 500 subs see, live stream. I'm yeah, I guess I'm just gonna talk for a while. I've scheduled it for 2 hours, but who knows how long I'll actually go for. I I am over 40, so after like 7 p.m., I start to slow down. So, um, I see some random geek. You've got some questions already. Thanks for those. They give me something to actually work with. I guess I just wanted to start. Like I know uh, I know 500 subs isn't a big deal for a lot of people, but it's something that I thought was pretty cool, and it's more than I've had on any other uh, YouTube channel that I've run in the past. Usually, I haven't done actual video. I've done like podcasts that I just did that had video element, I guess, but they were just podcasts, so they weren't uh, they weren't the same thing. So hopefully, like yeah, but I'll get right into it because you got a couple questions here. Um, so we got read any good books or listen to any good audiobooks recently. I'm listening to the Wheel of Time series again. I mean, I used to read it every time a new book came out, and then I've been reading it, listening to it for the last couple months. I've foregone all my um, podcasts that I listen to and all my like informational nonfiction or theory books that I was listening to, and I just decided to indulge in some fantasy that I really like. Um, the As far as books I'm reading, like I'm physically reading 3 or 4 books. There's uh, A Reason Without Profession, which is about psychiatry and some of the assumptions that are baked in to the way that psychiatry is currently done. And then I'm also reading Libertarian Socialism: The Politics of Black and Red, which was recommended by a viewer of the YouTube channel, and I think on Twitch too. And it's really interesting. I'm just in the first couple sections where they kind of talk about the arguments against anarchism from communists. So I thought that was really interesting. Um, the first one is, I mean, it's super frustrating to read because it's a straw man of anarchism, and it's like all non-anarchists only think that anarchists are individualist anarchists. They don't recognize the existence of any um, anarcho-communists, and so that section was pretty hard to read. It was very frustrating. Um, but then the next section was like a kind of a an in between. It was like discussing that critique and what was wrong with it. Excuse me. And then the section I'm on now is talking about anarcho syndicalism and how that relates to the previous 2 sections. Although I think they were all written at various, like they were all written not necessarily with the intent to look at those critiques, but like that specific article, but they were written in relation to these things. So that's kind of what I'm reading right now. Um, I signed up for the AK Friends of AK Press. So then every month you get like all a PDF or like an e copy of every book that they publish that month, and so it's like I've already got way more books to read than I actually have time, but I'm committed to actually reading now, so that's really cool. Um, the next question is, in your experience, who's the most frustrating to talk politics to? Liberals, conservatives, or tankies? Uh, I mean, in my personal experience, it's got to be conservatives. I know tankies like it's hard to get past certain points, but there's a lot that I we share in common. So I can focus on those things, right? And liberals, it's again the same thing. Like there's up to a point you can talk to them and then they get frustrating. But conservatives, I have almost nothing in common with. Every single thing that I say, they have the opposite view of it. So it's really tough to actually discuss any politics with a conservative as long as you as long unless you actually like ignore that they're conservatives, like because sometimes they'll say things that make sense. They just don't realize that that's a socialist or a leftist perspective. So because they do, at least here, conservatives do really like talking about the working class. It's just that the Conservative Party is really like the opposite of that. So it feels like you're talking to somebody who's like really missing the boat on what's going on because yeah, yeah, I guess because they are missing the boat on what's going on. um and then I've got this other one. Without any further context, when someone says something like so and so entertainment company, Marvel for example, just needs to stop with this BS PC obsession, what are your first thoughts? Oh, like the anti wokeness. So anti wokeness is bullshit. Like if somebody has, if they're saying, oh well, Marvel movies are too woke these days, or they need to stop with this political correctness, I think they're just not paying attention, and they don't realize that everything's been political for forever. Um, I don't know. It just seems obvious that they're not really aware of what's going on and what the point of art is. And yeah, you might not say that like art, the Marvel movies count in like art, whatever that is, but like movies have a message. Everything has a message ingrained in it, and some of that's going to be like more respectful to people that of marginalized communities. Um, so that's kind of where I'm sitting on those questions. I it's it's tough to I guess nail down uh people who are talking about the political correctness, like the anti-feminist or the anti-woke type person, because no matter what the message is, they're going to pretend that what they want is just a neutral uh, entertainment. So, yeah, besides that, I was going to talk a little bit about like some of the stuff that's been going on with the show. I guess it's been kind of, there was 2 months that we weren't doing anything. So that was because I was so busy with work and like um, there we were shorthanded at my job, and so those of us who were still there had to pick up extra shifts, and that took away from my editing ability and my ability to just do anything outside of work, really, which sucks because I work to fund my life. I don't work to live. Like you'll see a lot of people around here that their job is their identity. Well, that's for me, my job funds everything else. I don't My job is just a place I go to make money, and everything else is what matters to me. So it's tough when everything has to get cut off and suddenly you're just the only thing you have is your job. Um yeah, so for 2 months I was basically out of sorts. I was working, I mean, I worked the week I work a 7 on 7 off schedule. So then I'm always for the week that I'm working, I work 80 hours, 84 hours in 7 days, and then plus 3 hours of driving every day, 3.5 hours of driving every day. So I'm out of communication for the entire time that I'm working. And then if you add 2 more days onto that, it makes it really hard to actually like be present in my life. Yeah, like I would love to be able to make money just podcasting. That's always been something that's not why I do it, but that's always been something that I would prefer to be. That would be my job, but that also doesn't come with like health insurance either, right? Like, so that's a problem when you have kids and I know I don't know if I mentioned this very much on the actual show, but I have 4 kids. My son is 18, my daughter is 16, and I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old at home. And you might be able to hear the 4-year-old shouting for me in the background right now because she's at the top of the stairs demanding my attention. Um, but yeah, so it's tough to go without like insurance, right? But but I would still, if I could make enough money podcasting or doing YouTube, then I would love that. That would be amazing. I think it's a lot easier to do that if you're like a single person who doesn't have real people dependents on you. Um, but I think my youngest daughter is making her way down the stairs right now, even though I closed the baby gate. Mumu, you need to go upstairs. I'm recording. Okay. So yeah, so I was working basically 2 months, and when you were working that much, obviously, like the only other thing you can do is relax, try and rest, because I you can't do anything else. And I used to really like going to the gym, and I do enjoy going to the gym, but then I didn't for like almost a year because I was so busy with different for adjusting my schedule and trying to get adapted to what was going on in my life. Mumu, hi, hi, hi. Okay, wave hi.
Hi.
Okay, and then I'm gonna take you upstairs. Okay.
Did you know and here is right there?
Oh, really? Yeah. Is that where you're going? Okay. Go upstairs, please. Okay.
Wait.
Wait. What? Oh, yes. Take your ring. Yeah. Okay. Bye bye. Yes, your ring. Yes, your ring. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye. So that's my stepdaughter. She is not quite 4. She's very close, but not quite 4 years old now. And and like say, I've got the 7-year-old at home as well. And yeah, where the hell was I? Oh yeah, kind of talking about what was going on during the break, like because I was working so much, there was just no way I could actually produce any content. Even if I had a chance to record, there was no way that I could actually like put the time in to edit things and produce it, like get the audio sounding good and get the video, the silence is cut out because I don't know if people who watch notice. I cut a lot of the silence out every time somebody like breaks for a couple seconds or a few seconds. I cut that out because it's I think it creates a more cohesive show as long as you're not too aggressive with it, right? Um, yeah. So also like the next Red Reviews is on a bit of a hiatus for an undetermined amount of time, but not but it's definitely coming back is the idea. Um, Justin Justin has some stuff going on in his personal life. I'm not going to mention the details of it because that's his business, but we need to take a break so that he can focus on that. Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna do a BRB, and I'm gonna take my daughter upstairs. Sorry about that. Yeah, the children, they don't care for schedules or interrupting things at all. So sometimes you just gotta do the parenting thing. But they've got chocolate cereal now, so they should be good. Ah, yes, the Rage Against the Machine image, the one that I kind of hide behind my chair, the Evil Empire. Yeah, Rage Against the Machine is probably my favorite band, but and has been since I was a teenager. Yes, yeah, children are much like cats. Yeah. Um, I went through a bit of a conservative phase in my mid 20s, and even then, I still really liked Rage Against the Machine. I just, yeah, Rise Against is awesome too. That's actually when I got into Rise Against, is when I was in my conservative phase, but somehow I just missed the point of what they were saying when I was going through that. Like when I was young, I just liked it because it was angry. And then as I was like an adult, a young adult, I just completely missed what they were actually saying. I don't know how, but it's something that happens. Yeah. So I guess what else was I going to talk about? Yeah. 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 I mean, the guitar is amazing. It's probably part of a major part of the popularity, right? Rage Against the Machine was popular at a time when like rap was really uh, kind of in its heyday. I don't know how music industry is now, but like in the late 90s, like rap was like a big deal, and then to combine that with like heavy metal, which was also kind of having a heyday, uh, was pretty awesome. Like, and heavy metal is not a thing that you hear very much about anymore. I know there's still lots of people that are doing it, but yeah, what machine do they think they're raging against? The toast, their mother. It's their mom. They don't want to do what their mom says, so they're raging against that machine. Um, they don't want to do chores, so yeah, the washing machine. Um, it's really funny. There is a serious like, and there was even when I was like 20 years ago when I was into like conservatism. There, it's like an anger on the conservative side of things, where you think that like the world is messed up and that you need to do something about it, but in a totally backwards way, like because there's too much progress. Yeah. So it's obviously they're wrong. And they were wrong then, and I was wrong then. A lot of the rage that I had actually at that time, a lot of the frustration was because I didn't believe in climate change. And so when I heard that my kids were being taught about climate change at their school, I was frustrated by that, and I was going to take copies of the documentary, The Great Global Warming Swindle. I was going to take that and show it to their teachers because I was sure they just didn't know the information. They were just, I don't know, incorrect or had the wrong information somehow. so, so yeah, I really, I've always kind of been the person who thought that, hey, people who are wrong just have the wrong information, but, but also I had the wrong information on a lot of stuff. I even when I used to watch like Penn and Teller's bullshit, like I was even on board with their skepticism of climate change because they were skeptical of the socialists trying to take over, and try and eliminate capitalism. And I was skeptical of that. And I was wrong. Like the anti-capitalists are correct. So, it's funny. I don't see any comments from my right-wing troll here today. I know he commented when I posted my event on YouTube, claiming that, like, congratulating me on my accomplishment, but in the way that, in a very sarcastic way. But it's kind of funny that that they're not here making snide comments. What else do I want to talk about? I probably won't go for 2 hours. I will probably be done at 45 minutes to an hour at the best, at the longest. So I just kids slamming the door. Yeah. I wish there was a way to lock that door from this side, but there's not. So what was I going to talk about? I talked about the hiatus for Red Reviews because Justin's got stuff going on, but we absolutely are coming back. He messaged me. He loves doing the show. He's still a patron of my overall project, and it's just he's got stuff he's got to take care of. I have decided though too, because when Justin and I did an interview / book review of a PSL book. That's the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and it's quite popular among. Yeah, yeah. They are both. They like to bang things and scream. It's a thing. Kids like to scream at the top of their lungs. And I don't get it. I don't appreciate it, but they do it, and I guess we just have to live with it. Yeah. So we did an interview / book review of PSL book. That's the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and there was a lot of. I got a little bit of pushback from anarchists telling me that the PSL is a cult and that there's various problems with it, and I absolutely I'm very open to hearing and reading about the problems with an organization, like even if they are a leftist organization. I don't want to pretend that the left is immune to that sort of thing. But also, I think that it's hard to claim that every branch of an organization that covers the entire country of the United States is problematic in that way. Like, um, Indiana isn't the same as New York, and that's not the same as Chicago, and that's not the same as like some other, and there might even, I don't know the structure of the PSL. There might even be an overarching like national organization that has a certain leadership structure that's probably no good, or possibly no good. But I don't know that much about them as an organization. Yeah, yeah. Anarchists critical of other political organizations. This is a thing. This is absolutely a thing, uh, and and often very justified. Like I want to. I don't want to be like shutting it down as like, no, you're just being what like overreacting or what have you. Like, but also I don't want to call somebody a member of a cult if they're not a member of a cult, right? Like if they're just part of a local org that's doing some good in their community, then it's on me as a person to judge between the two, right? Like and make like a clarification for myself at least. Like even if I can't make a broad general like say like, hey, no, you shouldn't do this thing, you shouldn't join this org. uh, I can at least say for myself, well, maybe I shouldn't join that org, or I can still, if they're generally Marxist Leninists, so I'm not going to join them anyway, right? Uh, Similar to like the Communist Party here, they're really, really anti-anarchist, and I'm just so fuck them. Like I don't give a shit. If you're going to be anti-anarchist, then you're not on my side, right? You're not my comrade. Um, so it's important to pick those choices for ourselves. But also, Justin is a member of the Indiana PSL, and he thinks highly of the other members of that organization. And I trust Justin to think critically about things and to stand up if something's wrong in the organization. So and also like I was the whole reason I started this ramble is because I'm booked to talk to Nino Brown, who is a member of the PSL from a region other than Justin's branch, and I'll bring some of the critiques up with him, but also I'm not going to attack a guy for being a member of an organization that he thinks is doing good. Not when they're treating me with respect. and that's kind of where I draw the line, right? Is like it has to be about mutual respect. And I'm not going to, if somebody can show me that the people that I have interacted with are behaving in bad ways, then I will change the way I look at things. I will change my perspective, and I will stop interacting with those people. But I'm not going to secondhand say, well, he's a bad guy because he interacts with this organization, and there's these things that the organization did 15 years ago or 10 years ago or even last month. Like, I don't know that person's involvement. And this is a thing that I think we've had this conversation on various shows that I've been on. We have to acknowledge that we don't always get to judge people and cut them off because of their association with other people or their third hand associations. Like, but if that means that people can't watch my channel, then I'm afraid then like you do you. I'm not judging you either for your choice, your ethics. As long as you're not harming somebody, we're good. So that was a lot just to say, yeah, I'm having Nino Brown come on the show within the next few weeks. And I'm sure that many anarchists will dislike that. Yeah, have a good one, Some Random Geek. I hope that you enjoy your movie, and we'll talk soon. Some Random Geek was on the show yesterday, and that's available on the Twitch stream. I'm also currently I'm editing that one, and then I've got another interview this week with Andrewism from the Andrewism YouTube channel, much more popular YouTube channel than myself, but I'm a big fan. Since things have started to be a little bit more financially stable for our family, like I have started supporting various creators that I like. And I think that it's good to do that for everybody if they can, but not everybody can. That's fine. I don't know what else to talk about. I really appreciate the 500 subs. I appreciate everybody who watches my stuff or listens to my stuff on the podcast feed. I know I talk about 500, like I'm talking about 500 subs on YouTube, but I've got an average of 150 to 200 downloads per episode of the podcast, and I really appreciate the listeners and everybody who supports me on Patreon. It's really cool to know that people value what you're putting into the world. It seems like, I don't know, maybe it's a thing that I've heard before, but it seems like there aren't any actual new ideas out in the world. So what I try to do is I just try to promote people who have good ideas. And I love talking to smart people. I'm good at having conversations. I'm not as good at coming up with shit to talk about on my own, unless I'm pissed off, and then I can ramble for days. But yeah, I love doing the show. It's something that I hope to continue doing for a long time. And yeah, I guess some folks might not know what this flag is up here. This is the flag, one of like 20 flags that I made for our local Sask leftists group. We're a very small group of people who are left wing and have some leftist ideas. And I went through like a bunch of different types of like flag, trying to find one that fit really well. This one here, like, it's got the black rose. That's an anarchist thing. It's got over there, there. We've got the gear for like industrial workers, and there's wheat sheaves in the star for the for farmers, I guess. And the green and gold is the Saskatchewan flag is green and gold. So I kind of tried to model it after the Saskatchewan flag, but with a leftist or anarchist kind of spin to it, because I thought that would be great for us as a small group of Saskatchewan leftists. Which I guess I should mention before I decide to cut this off whenever I do. If you're from Saskatchewan and you want to get involved with like other Saskatchewan leftists, like, we have a very small group on our Discord. I'm trying to come up with other ways to like get together online, in person maybe, but because it's Saskatchewan based, like, everybody's like, it's only a small group here and a small group in Saskatoon and a small group in like various people in other little towns. So it's, I mean, maybe hard to get together in person, but it would be good. It's good to have access for more people. Like, I've been thinking about starting a Signal chat so that everybody can kind of chat through that. It seems to be a much more popular way of communicating. I don't know if this is a very, it's not the most successful stream, I guess, because I've had to run for the kids, and I don't really have an outline of what I want to talk about or anything. I did want to answer any questions that people have about anarchism or my view of leftism or socialism or communism. There are a lot of people who know a lot more than I do. I'm still learning. I think I know a bit. I've read a lot. I try to absorb as much as I can, as often as I can, from not just books, but like I think there's like a lot of people right now, like Anarch is doing some really great theory on his YouTube channel for a modern anarchism, like, and his explanation of why the state is reactionary or anti-revolutionary is amazing stuff. It's really, really important, really good stuff. And it's frustrating, I guess, because a lot of anarchist content creators get strawmanned by more authoritarian leftists. And yeah, it is strawman because you come up with like the most absurd criticism of somebody and pretend that that's a legitimate argument when you defeat them. So, like, I don't know. But we've got some great like content creators. Like I listen to, like, I got Coffee with Comrades is great. I've got Anarch, Andrewism, the folks from It Could Happen Here, or It Could Happen Here Daily. Like they're all really cool. I know some people don't really like it. I know some non-anarchists really don't like it. But I think there's a lot of quality content there, even if you don't listen every day. Which obviously I don't, because, like I say, for the last couple of months I've been doing nothing but listening to fantasy novels because my brain was turning to mush from all the input from like news sites and news items and podcasts, and like where you just end up like mad all the time. It's just counterproductive. Like it doesn't actually give you the ability to pause and think when you're constantly getting bombarded with information. I've been thinking a lot about the way that I consume podcasts and YouTube. And I don't really do a lot of watching YouTube. I watch a certain people regularly when I get a chance, right? Like as regularly as I do. I watch Andrewism, I watch Anarch, I watch some more news, like stuff like that. But podcasts, I've been consuming podcasts steady since 2011. So I'm done like bombarding my brain with that stuff. Like what I'm going to do from now on is like listen to podcasts. You download the day's worth of podcasts, listen to what you can, delete the rest. Instead of holding on to them so that you can catch them the next day when you get a chance, or the day after, or whatever, delete. If you didn't catch it, too bad. Like if it didn't make it all the way into your ears, then it's not something that you need to listen to that day. And that's just going to have to be the way that things are for some of that stuff. I'm not sure if there are anybody like who's got questions on sites that aren't YouTube, because I don't seem to have like any comments coming up in my feed here that aren't from do you think anarchism I'll bring that up on the screen. Do you think anarchism can make any impact in places which are sparsely populated and or very conservative? I think so. I think there's a libertarian strain in in conservative areas, rural areas specifically, where they want to just have their farm, and they're fine sharing their produce with their neighbors, or doing various things that I think you can actually have a really good anarchist or libertarian strain out there, because you don't, like, as an anarchist, we don't want the state interfering with our lives, right? So I think there's fertile ground for for anarchism in rural areas. It's it depends which strain you're going to end up getting, right? Like uh if you're stuck with like people who believe in like ANCAP, Ayn Rand, objectivist type libertarianism, then you're going to be then it's counterproductive, right? But if you can convince people that they should actually give a shit about their neighbors, then that's somewhere to go. That I think. I know a lot of people in the area I work in and live in that they really do view community as an important thing, and taking care of their neighbors is kind of like part of our culture, right? But then when it comes to like the way they vote, or the way they behave politically, or when it comes to like actually sharing, then they don't. Where can we find common ground with libertarians? Well, I think in the anti-statism is really the only thing. Uh, Right-wing libertarians, like, they've got a lot wrong. So it's really hard to find anything beyond the anti-statism as a common ground, unless you can convince them that they ought to care about the well-being of others. Um, like, I was listening to Ben Burgess's show a while back, talking about um, how, and he had a libertarian on, and he talked about having his farm and being left alone and not wanting to do anything for anybody, and not giving a shit about anybody. And it seems like libertarians that feel that way don't really see the conclusions that that's going to lead to. They don't seem to understand that when you are living like that, that leaves you open to attack from somebody who's got more land, more funding. They can buy an army and fund it. Like, this isn't, we're not living in the Middle Ages, right? Like, you can't just live on a farm out in the middle of nowhere and nobody knows you're there. If you have land, it's there. People know it. So it's really tough to it is tough to get through that, because their belief in private property is really what stops us from being on the same ground with them. But I think that, I don't know. I think that that it's obvious that private property needs to be abolished. So maybe there's a way to get through to people who are libertarians. But yeah, the abolishment of the state, I think, is definitely a part of it. Is a good way to find common ground with libertarians or libertarian strain. Like, depending on who you talk to, libertarian is used by many leftists too, right? Like, oh, okay, another comment. Good. I have a libertarian colleague who thinks the end of the world is coming, and is stocking up on guns. Wow. Okay. I'm not. I don't think they're necessarily wrong. Like, it does feel like we're at a collapse moment, right? Like, we're at an end of things, and it may not be bad to stock up on guns, but you also need to stock up on food and supplies like water. Um, you need to stock up on like wood, things that will make fire. like, like if you believe the end of the world is coming, the guns aren't what's going to save you, right? You need to start preparing in other ways. I know a lot of leftists or left anarchists like they talk about canning things or like, oh, excuse me, canning things and or like preserves, right? Because you really need to. So, I mean, maybe there's a conversation to be had about the end of the world and the proper way to prepare for it because guns aren't going to save you. Like, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, who cares if you have a gun? What, like, you can have one gun and enough bullets to keep reloading it. And that's good enough. You don't need 600 guns unless you're going to build an army and invade somebody, which isn't how anything's going to actually work for most people. I think I'm not a prepper. If anything, uh, I'm more wasteful than I should be, and I think that I do admire people who know how to prepare canned foods. Like they know how to do all that shit, and I find it really impressive. I guess, um, but I'm not that. So it's hard for me to really relate, but I think there's common ground there. Uh, if that were a thing you were interested in doing, is finding that common ground because prepping is a thing on the left. It seems like a lot of anarchists and libertarians are into prepping. Like if you listen to the It Can Happen Here daily podcast, they have done a lot of stuff on preparing food and uh Margaret Killjoy, uh, her show is about her live like the world is dying. Was I don't know if she's still doing that show, but that show was about like kind of learning the skills, preparing to live after climate collapse, I guess, or like if you need to living on your own sustainably outside of the system, which I think is something that is valuable information. I'm not Again, I'm not there myself. It's like I also agree with vegans on a lot of things. The ethics of various food preparation practices, but I'm not there yet. I I'm not a vegan, and but I think I am going to try and get a vegan or maybe even a prepper on the show sometime so that I can so that I can explore the ideas a little bit more with someone who knows about it. It's amazing sometimes what you can learn from somebody in an hour after when you're actually talking to them and you can ask questions that come to mind. I hope the banging and stuff isn't too loud for it. It's quite. I hear it a lot, but yeah, I don't know what else to talk about really. It's oh okay. We got so changing the topic. I tend to not talk about my politics. Do you think it's a good idea to not advertise far left viewpoints, especially when the term has been co-opted lately? I don't know. At work, I don't talk about my politics very much at all either. I in personal life, like if I'm talking to people, then I will bring up things, but I don't. Yeah, I don't talk about it as though like I don't use terms like socialism or communism. If you're trying to talk to people, like it is good to meet them on a level that where they are, but it is also good to be honest too, right? So you don't want to trick people into believing that you have common ground that you don't have. Um, so I do try to talk about like uh, being an anarchist a bit, uh, But also, I try not to talk about politics at all at work at all. So in other relationships, like most of my friends, they all know that I'm an anarchist. Like, and my dad knows we had lots of arguments about anarchism and communism because, and all the people he works with know because I've talked to. So I do kind of advertise it a little bit, but also, uh, you got to pick your battles, right? You got to pick your moments because it's tough. Not only can you have a detrimental conversation to like any cause you're trying to put forward, but you can also like really hurt your relationships with people, and then you have no chance of converting them into doing anything. And I'm not saying like you should have like I don't think that we should have like we should just put up with racism or sexism or ableism or transphobia, stuff like that, or homophobia. But also, uh, so it's important to like bring that shit up, but also you still have to like in my area, in my daily life, if you call somebody out when they use a racial slur, you might have to deal with that for a very, very long time and have a hard time at work working with those people because they'll be like really hostile. So it's I mean it's hard, but also you don't want to be the one who rolls over when it's an important issue. It's I don't know. I think it's a good idea to be honest about your politics if it's asked, but maybe don't advertise if it depending on the scenario you're in. Just to give you a flat out answer, right? Without the rambling. Other common ground I see between anarchists and libertarians is disliking woke capitalism, though I think for different reasons. Thoughts? Yeah. Yeah, they don't like woke capitalism because they think that um, wokeness has gone too far or PC culture has gone too far. We don't like woke capitalism because it's superficial and it doesn't address the issues, right? I think I talked about this with some random geek yesterday about the way in which like Netflix decided that the D&D episode was racially insensitive, so it took it out of the playing. And I don't think that that actually addressed anything. I don't think that helped anybody, and no, I don't think anybody was asking for it. So, and the other example I always think of is the Democrats with their kente cloths, and or like the Democrat who's like the liberal who's kneeling and begging for forgiveness from black folks because of the history of racism in America. That doesn't solve anything. Like you're not actually doing anything. It makes you feel better because you said you were sorry, which is fine, I guess, but it's better to find a way to actually address the issues, right? And like there are people who are working on these problems, usually like people who have belong to the marginalized groups that are affected. And so that's why we say, hey, let's defer to those people in those groups. So it's not that you have to defer to every single person in a marginalized group. It's that you have to defer to the people who are doing the thing and listen to them and like realize that they know more than you. But yeah, it's basically it's just because it's superficial. As a as opposed to thinking that it's gone too far and it's changing the shows that I like. Boo. I can't stand when somebody changes the shows that I like or changes a character whose skin color is not relevant to their character into a black person or a Latino person. Okay. in Canada, we see the same thing with land acknowledgements. It just seems like theater rather than actually helping. Yeah, that's right. And I think that there's a lot of Indigenous people who have spoken about that as well. The land acknowledgements, they feel good, but are they solving anything? I that's not to say I think that people shouldn't do them, because I do think that in some cases people are like they benefit from it, right? Uh, it makes them aware I'm not on land that I actually am owning. I'm on land that belongs to Indigenous peoples, um, or a particular tribe, right? Um, but does it give them land back? It doesn't, right? It's just a land acknowledgement. It's not like nobody's changing the system. Nobody's attacking like the actual corporations that are sitting on Indigenous land that has in many places still been unceded. It was never given over through treaty at all. It's just been confiscated from them. Yeah. So yeah, land acknowledgements are I don't do land acknowledgements, but I don't have hard feelings for people who do them. I think and depending on what work they're doing outside of that, I think there could be a real value to it. But say the university just saying, "Oh yeah, we acknowledge that we're on Treaty 6 land," uh, oh, and then the tribes that are nearby. I don't think that helps. They're not they're not doing it. The university isn't doing anything, though they have the power. They could do more, right? I think a lot of people are maybe giving them more credit than they deserve in some ways. Um, I think we see a lot of that in BC where like I think it's a lot of like quote unquote woke corporatism where like they do land acknowledgments, they talk about the importance of Black Lives Matter and how racial justice is part of their mandate or whatever they call it, their mission. But really, uh, they don't do anything substantial. They don't address the broader issue, and instead they tend to like. I don't see any corporations like putting in their hat in the ring, fighting for reparations or for land back, and that would be actually like doing some good. Thank you, Brainbeard, for having questions and thoughts, because I, without I'm a person who writes a script for every show. Like, unless I have a rant on the top of my head, I have to have a script in front of me to come up with things to say. So it's really cool for you to like have these questions. What do you think of the idea of these things being liberal dog whistles? If you don't use them in some places, you may have your career progression stopped. Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. It's I don't know though. A liberal dog whistle. Yeah. Yeah. Like it's for clout, right? In some cases it's definitely for the like I mentioned the university. I don't think you'll find like any public speaking engagement from the university that isn't that doesn't have a like I'm talking the U of R, University of Regina. For those not from Saskatchewan, I'm talking about the University of Regina. Um, I don't think you're going to see any public statements from them or public events that don't start with a land acknowledgement. And if you organize one and don't do it, yeah, I could definitely see it affecting your career progression. I'm not sure how things work in like smaller venues, like maybe like classes or small speaking engagements, but government too. Like government, I don't know if the Saskatchewan government does it, but I know that a lot of like government events start with land acknowledgements in, like, say, the Liberal Party federal government stuff. I feel bad for people who have their career progression stopped because of something like that. But I I don't know. It's hard for me to say, like, don't do it because it is the land of it is Treaty 6 land that was taken from the various tribes around us, and, like, yeah. I feel like in right wing circles, when I say left, they assume liberal. When I probably dislike liberals as much as them. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I don't know if I actually do dislike liberals as much as as they do. I think I dislike conservatives more than liberals do, though. So, uh, but yeah, I'm not a fan of liberals as a group, right? Because it does seem like a lot of what they do feels superficial. I It is the one good thing, though. Like, when I'm talking to my coworkers or people around me about liberals, like, I can badmouth Trudeau the same as they can, even more, but with actual merit, right? Because I actually know the things that he's not doing that I think are good. I don't just call him a dictator and pretend I know what's going on. Outside of work, I don't spend much time in right wing circles, though, either. So I don't know. Like, maybe it's a thing that one is dealing with far more often than I am dealing with it. Because we don't talk politics at work, really, and I try to avoid it as much as I can. Um, if somebody talks shit about Trudeau, then I'll just laugh, right? Like, I'll just laugh along with them and kind of go along to get along. It's interesting because also I've encountered, like, a lot of people who are anti-coercion because they're anti-vaccine because they're anti-coercion, and I am anti-coercion, but I am pro-vaccine. So so you actually can at times talk people around to recognizing that uh, coercion isn't so much telling you that you need to get a vaccine because your health impacts other people, right? I know, like, most people that I probably would view this already know that, but your health, if you're carrying a disease that can affect someone else, then you don't get to just suddenly decide that your body, your choice, right? Like, we do owe the people around us consideration. I know that right wing anarchists don't think that that's a thing, but right wing quote unquote anarchists, because I don't really think they're anarchists because they're still pro capital. I think that taking your community into account is a major point in favor of uh, vaccine mandates, I guess. Although I would prefer they didn't come from the state, but rather just from, like, your own community. Do you find Trumpism is infiltrating your area as well? Oh yeah. 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 We in Saskatchewan, we have a Wexit party. Uh, uh, I think it's the Buffalo Party. They want to leave Canada and become an independent state, along with, of course, they want Alberta and BC to join us, but I don't think they'll ever get BC. So that means that it's just Alberta and Saskatchewan, just landlocked together, surrounded by Canada. But yeah, no, it's the Trumpian mentality. Lots of lots of QAnon stuff still, actually, like belief that any LGBT person is a groomer, which, I mean, we know that's nonsense. Stuff like that. It's very frustrating. But I think my daughter's coming downstairs again.
I just want pajamas.
Oh, you want pajamas, do you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Stay there. I'll end this. I'll come upstairs. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.
Oh, wait.
No.
I'm gonna show you something.
No.
I'm
No.
slipping in my shirt. And
No. No.
Corey, I just want to come.
All right. I'm afraid I gotta go. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for the questions and thoughts. I did intend to go longer than this if I could, but it looks like I have a child who needs attention. So thank you so much, and have a great night.